So things went downhill. We called off our engagement. We were on our separate way for like 3 weeks. But while we were like on a break, like a little breakup, unfortunately I was raped. Again, that was my second time, and I don't really share anything about that because it's not great. And that for me, I would say it was huge for me because I felt very powerless, and I was frozen at that time, that I couldn't believe that actually happened to me again, but in the worst way. Yeah, so that really got to me. I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell my parents, my family, friend, not even my fiance, when we actually got back together after. I just kept it to myself. I didn't report it. It's a long story. And when we did get back together, I was actually living with my older sister at her apartment for a while, and things got a little crazy over there as well. Yeah, really crazy. When I was living there for a bit, I would say a few weeks, I remember my older sister, she texted me, and she was telling me that something was crazy going on there while I was working at the time. And she was saying that she saw a ghost, and I was like, oh, come on, don't mess with me like that, don't, because I don't like that stuff. And she's like, no, for real. And she was telling me about it. She was saying that she saw a little kid was running in the hallway, and I'm like, oh, man. And so I was so scared of going back home after work, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. But literally, I noticed that my room and one of my nephew's room was the coldest room in that whole apartment. Everything else was all heated, warm, and everything, except for our room, which is crazy. And so my room and the other room were cold, really, really cold, but my nephew's room was actually more damp, like very moisty. It's creepy. And so with my room, Alice, he came over to hang out with me, and then all of a sudden he had a stomach pain, and so he couldn't sleep, and it was like probably 3 or 4 a.m. I decided to get out of the house, run to the Walgreens, and it was like, I would say 20 minutes from where I was living, and I ran there. It was like 4 a.m. I would say, and went there to buy medicine for the stomach pain. I went back. By the time I got back, the pain was gone. I'm like, okay, that's so weird. So the pain was gone, and but what I noticed though, the power outlet, it literally blew out. It got burned out. Like, the electric went out too. Insane. And so I literally had no power in my room. And then, not only that, my photos on the wall, posters and stuff like that, were all tilted. Like, someone was playing with it. And so I noticed that. And the power came back on later. And so that whole funk, it was really, really drove me nuts. And so I was literally like, hey, whoever you are, please leave me alone. And I was so curious. I was like Googling, okay, if there was a child that died in this apartment. And I found nothing, unfortunately. Forward from that, I actually moved back with Alice at the house. Of course, we got back together, working things out. So, things got a little bit calmer, I would say. Got a little quiet, though. But moving forward to 2018, at the time I was working as a grocery market. I was a frontman manager, so I was doing most of the closing shift. And so when I was working there, I remember I would say in the summer, I started hearing things in the back room, like someone dropping a case of paper towel or something in the back, and it was like playing with it. And then the U-boat was like pushing, making sound like someone was actually playing something in the back. And then it was just like some little kid actually playing in the back. But it was constantly happen every time I was closing that shift. It was exactly at 10 p.m. when I was closing down the store. and the sound was going crazy. I tried to record it, and it wouldn't even work out there. And I actually reported to my manager. I'm like, this is creepy. And of course, the store was actually built above of the burial. I would say Native American, apparently, and it's and I'm like, that makes so much sense, but it was just so dark, like literally dark. And I remember like my coworker was there with me, and we were just looking at each other like, yeah, we're not going back there. We're just gonna count the money, whatever, get out and dip. So that was a weird experience. Anywho, so I do want to share something that I actually felt like I thought I was in hell. Yeah, literally in hell. It was definitely back in 2011, in June 2011, at EDC festival. The big wave festival that was going on in Las Vegas at the time, and I'm pretty sure some of you recognize that. I would say that was my first time taking LSD, pretty much acid, and that was actually my first time taking it. And so I remember taking at least 2 tabs, and we were actually in line to get checked in. I took it and waited. It was like 30 minutes, a little bit more. Started kicking in, and I was like, ooh, feeling like, you're floating, And so people around, but there was a guy and a girl, so they were separated at the security checkpoint. And so I was with my friend Diana, and so the moment we walked right over to the check, like it was our turn, we passed, and then behind me there was a chick, and she literally passed out, like just fell to the ground, and everybody started rushing to her, and of course, I started tripping. I'm like, I'm not just standing there frozen, like, what's going on? Like, is this actually happening? Like, and so I was completely out, and I'm just standing there frozen, just like, oh my goodness. And then Diana was just like telling me like, hey, come on, we gotta go in now. And so we went in. And then I just stand there, and then we were going down the stairs, and all the lights, the whole place, I was like so amazed. I mean, I was tripping already. And then we decided to go on the ride. It was like a spinning ride, and we were going at, everything was good. And then when I got off, the whole thing went 180 degree, like flip, like a comic book, you flip a page. The whole view was different from there. The thing just went crazy. And so that was like my first time tripping bad. All of a sudden, like, I just started seeing stuff. On the ground there was like a little like mini version of skull, like laying all over the place. And there was fire shooting all over the place, and shooting, and then I see like a skull face on everybody's faces, and they all staring at me like I was guilty of something, And so, and I was freaking out, and then all of a sudden, like, I turned around and I thought I saw Alice and Diana like made out behind my back, and I freaked out. I started getting emotional, started crying, and ran and run off somewhere. And apparently, like, a bunch of friends started chasing me, trying to calm me down. Just so upset. I was emotional, and people were trying to like block me from Diana. They thought I was gonna go beat her up for some reason. I was so confused. And so finally, Alice, he came up to me and he made me snap out of it. And he's like, hey, tell yourself that your brain right now, you're messed up in your head. You're messed up. You're on drugs. Don't act so obvious because you're going to get kicked out of the festival. And I was like, yeah. And I kept myself like, I'm messed up. I'm messed up. And so, yeah. And then it was crazy. But even a little before that, like, I was seeing, if I don't know, you guys go on the ride, go on a little, like a spooky ride, whatever. I went, and then I was seeing that from a view. And, and then I see, like, people going into this ride, like, from the view far away. It's like they were going in and, like, being, electrocuted, like, shocked. Like, you going to hell, something like that. That was freaking me out. By the way, I was still tripping. And so that was crazy. And everything was just so insane. And from there, like, my brain was flying. Like, yeah. It was the whole night. It was just so trippy. I started seeing two people going in each other, and then more people coming out of, like, multiplying. Like, it was going in and going out, and I felt like I was on a spaceship for some reason, like in the air, in the sky. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was I would say, my experience of being in hell. And there was another time that Alice and we decided to go on a hiking at the Black Mountain, which is, like, located in Las Vegas. We decided to go hiking to climb on the mountain. And because, he wanted to do very more deeper spiritual stuff, whatever. And I'm like, I could tag along. And so we went up, and we actually saw a pack of live ram, like a family of ram. And of course, we did not want them to see us, because, if they see us, they're going to run right to us and then push us off, So it was crazy. So as we were going up further, and we finished climbing almost to the very top of the Black Mountain, Alice wanted to go in the same path going back down, But I was being very rebellious, resistant. I was like, no, we should go the other way, because I see the other way, the path is a lot, closer and a lot faster and easier. And so we took my route, and of course, it backfired. Yeah, obviously. It backfired, because we ended up climbing down, and then everything was blowing in our face, the wind here and there. And so, and we were having a hard time going down further and further, and it was so deep. And so, then it started getting darker. The day started getting darker, and we were really concerned that we're not going to make it out before darkness. And so we were still, like, trying to climb down back, and then finally we got to the ground, but it was already getting dark. We had little light, and we were freaking out that we might get bitten by a spider, snake, and who knows what. So we kept walking, and I just followed of course, I followed Alice this time. Follow him. And it took us a while to get to where we had to get to. And we finally reached the trail that we found with the light shining on it. And the moment we got there, I kneeled down to my knees and thanking whoever or thanking whatever that we were alive. We made it out. We made it back out. We were saved. And I was so blessed. So I was thinking whatever that it was, saving our lives.